let's talk about the succession in Thailand.
Mm.
So many Thais have no doubt about the succession, and I mean, the next king can be the crown prince should be the next king. What do you think?
I think that's extremely likely. Just to answer your question, for a long time, I think there was some conflict in the palace and among the elite about whether the prince should be allowed to become king. And a lot of people, including Prem and Anand Panyarachun and the Privy Council, they were really concerned about the crown prince and wanted to try and stop him. But as far as I can tell from my sources, that conflict is now really over, and the prince's faction have won. So the Thai junta, one of the reasons they seized power and is that they want to oversee the royal succession, make sure it goes smoothly. They expect that the prince will be king, and they want to try to control the prince. Because that's another message of these photos. Sure, he's having fun, but he's quite a difficult person to control. And the Thai elite are desperate to try and control him. So it seems very likely it'll be the crown prince, unless there's some, dramatic event that comes from nowhere. We can be 99% sure that the crown prince will become king. And there's a lot of very, very strong rumors that something could happen as early as Thursday, the 28th of July, which is Crown Prince's birthday. Now, over the past few years, there's always been rumors going around that something's about to happen, the king is about to die, or there'll be some announcement. It's kind of normal, so I don't usually pay too much attention to it because normally it's just gossip. But these rumors about the 28th of July are very strong, and I think there's a significant possibility that there may be quite a major announcement around the time of the 28th of July involving royal succession. It's not certain it'll happen, but there's a significant possibility that we'll hear something around the 28th.
I see. If the crown prince become the next king, can you project the future of Thailand? What gonna be in your thinking?
Well, I mean, that's a very good question. It's going to be very difficult for the monarchy to still maintain the same level of respect that it had in the past, because most Thais simply don't have the same respect for the crown prince as they do for the king. I mean, this has been widely known for many years now. And especially the Thai middle class, which tends to be often very, very royalist, and loves the king, but the Thai middle class has never liked the prince. In fact, there's real hostility towards him. So this means that the monarchy will be much less popular. People are very frightened as well, because we've had at least 4 murders in the past year connected with the crown prince.
Right.
And so, 4 people have been killed. And, we don't know who murdered them, but we know the crown prince must have been aware of it and must have approved it. So, if it wasn't done by his hands, it was done on his orders. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of resentment about the monarchy. And so that will be a dramatic shift in Thai politics when it comes, that suddenly the majority of Thais won't really be supporting the monarchy anymore. Because as a lot of people have pointed out, a lot of Thais, they're not really royalist, they're pumiponist. Most Thais, they really respect the king. And they think he's done very good things for Thailand. And, so they have great love for him. It's not true that all Thais love the king, as is often said, but many Thais do still love the king. And when succession comes, that'll stop. It'll only be really the most extreme royalists who are still trying to worship the crown prince. But most Thais will have a much more ambivalent view towards the monarchy. Now that means it'll be really hard for the elite to use love of the monarchy to kind of keep the people obedient. So you might see the junta having to, use more force. Thailand's always been kind of a soft dictatorship in the sense that even when there's no democracy and it's ruled by a junta, they've generally not gone too far in terms of, mass arrests. torture, things like that. It's so-called soft dictatorship, where, they're usually able to use coercion and respect for the monarchy as a way to keep people obedient. If they can't do that anymore, they'll have to use more force. It'll have to be a much harder dictatorship, which of course would be really unfortunate for Thailand. And the Crown Prince himself, his behavior is so unpredictable that we have no idea what he might do. So there would always be the chance that he might, suddenly do something that really causes, significant developments in Thailand. And the elite are going to be desperately trying to control him to stop that. So, it will be, as I think even the US Embassy has made this clear in the WikiLeaks cables that I leaked about 5 years ago. It's really going to affect everything in Thailand, the royal succession, because there's going to be a huge realignment of all the main institutions, and the monarchy, which had this huge oversized role in Thailand, is suddenly going to become much less influential. And so everybody else will be scrambling to fill the gap and to create new alliances and new power structures. So it's going to be a really dramatic time.
Do you think when the Crown Prince becomes the king, he can adapt himself to be a good king like his father?
Well, first of all, let's just, I don't necessarily agree that his father was a good king.
Okay.
Although what his father did very, very cleverly was he created an image of being a very good and wise king. And many Thais love him. It's going to be much harder for the Crown Prince to do that, but not impossible. And, ironically, if he really wanted to reinvent himself and be popular, what he would do would be to try and show some support for freedom of speech and Thai democracy. There's going to be, the Crown Prince knows that everybody gossips about him, that everybody knows the stories of what he's done. So rather than use Article 112 to try to prevent gossip about him, which is impossible because the gossip is already out there, what he could do if he wants to be a good king is he could abolish Article 112 and he could say, I don't support anybody being prosecuted for this. And I think that would win him huge support. He could also say that he believes in democracy and he wants to see a rapid return to democracy in Thailand. And that would distinguish him from his father, who always acquiesced to military coups. And, for a while, a few years ago, the Red Shirt movement believed that the Crown Prince was on their side. We don't have much evidence for that, but it's true that for some time, the Crown Prince and Thaksin were close. We don't know how, or I don't know how close they are now, but they seem close for a while. So it's, it's possible. And if the Crown Prince really wanted to be a historic figure, and I think to save the Thai monarchy, because if the Thai monarchy wants to survive, it has to become a constitutional monarchy that does not meddle in politics, rather like in Britain or in the Netherlands and so on. And if the prince was to help that happen, if he was to be a modern monarch who promoted freedom of speech, promoted democracy, but didn't overtly intervene, that would be an amazing reinvention of the Thai monarchy that could really keep the monarchy alive for many more years. I don't think it's likely, unfortunately. I don't think it's in the prince's nature to behave like this. I think he wants the power and he wants respect. And he doesn't understand how to get power and respect apart from by demanding it and enforcing it. So I suspect it's going to be a very difficult time, and it may even lead towards the end of the monarchy.
Right. Do you think the Crown Prince and the Princess Sirinthorn have a conflict each other, or they have a problem, or no?
Well, I don't necessarily think the two of them especially had a problem with each other, although I think it's clear that Sirinthorn was very worried about the Crown Prince and what he might do, because he always seemed angry that she was the one who was popular and he wasn't. But I think the conflict came from their circles. Around Sirinthorn there was a circle of quite influential people in the palace who wanted her to become monarch, even though palace law seems to say it has to be a man. They believed that they could maybe get Sirinthorn on the throne. This is one reason why in Thai constitution since the 1970s it does allow for the possibility of a female monarch. but the palace law doesn't allow for the possibility yet. So there's still, it's clear that behind the scenes, there's been conflict about this. As far as I can tell, the conflict seems fairly resolved these days, and there seems to be some kind of a deal that after the succession, Horn will help manage the Crown Property Bureau, which has a huge amount of wealth, probably more than $50 billion. She'll manage the money. The Crown Prince will be king, but I think Horn would have a lot of the royal duties because she does the royal duties, where the prince hates his royal duties, so he tries to do as few as possible. So it seems like there has been some kind of accommodation now, an agreement between them, and many of the people who wanted Horn or Pratap to become monarch, they've lost their influence. People like Bram, he's so old now, and even before 2006, before that coup, Prem was such a powerful figure in Thailand, and now he really has no power. And people like Prat Wongsawan and Prayut, they don't listen to Prem. My sources tell me that when Prem phones up now, people in the elite in Thailand, nobody wants to answer the phone. Nobody wants to listen to him anymore. So his influence has really declined, and the influence of the people backing Pratap has really declined. So I think it's the conflict which I wrote about, it's basically over, and the Crown Prince side has won.
You told me earlier that in a couple of days, the palace have some announcement, and how you sure that, and what kind of announcements? Is it about the succession, or what about?
Well, look, I can't be sure because
but you strongly believe, or you strongly that something announced on a couple of days, right?
Yeah, anybody who says they know for sure what's going to happen inside the palace is it's lying, because none of us can know for sure. And the other point is that especially if I predict something and put it on social media, sometimes that can actually change their plans, because the last thing they want is for people like me to be predicting something, and and it shows that I know what's going on. So, for example, way back in 2013 onwards, I was predicting that I was saying that Prawit Wongsawan had become, really the most powerful figure behind the scenes in Thailand. He was really like the new Prem, and he wanted to become prime minister. So I wrote this. I kept on writing that Prawit Wongsawan wanted to become prime minister, which was true. And I heard from my sources that this really annoyed him, because he didn't want to be exposed as really wanting the power. So he started trying to make new plans where he would still try to be the Jiao Po behind the scenes, but he would have a proxy or a puppet in power. So initially they were hoping they didn't have to have a coup. They were hoping to have a judicial coup to bring down Yingluck. So he got Surin Pitsawan ready to become prime minister. And I wrote that too, which really annoyed Prawit, and it really annoyed Surin. And then in the end, they had a coup, so Prayut was made, as Prayut was made the puppet, but Prawit is still trying to rule behind the scenes. So this shows that sometimes if you make a prediction, they might change a plan. But there's been very significant suggestions from several very, very good sources that to coincide with the Crown Prince's birthday on July 28th, something would be announced. And it's clear that a lot of big companies, especially Thai companies that have links with the Crown Property Bureau, which therefore are very well informed about what's happening inside the palace, a lot of these companies are making plans behind the scenes for a period of upheaval starting this week, because they believe there'll be an announcement on succession imminently. So that's one of the other pieces of evidence. I know that a lot of foreign embassies have heard these rumors, and they're also making plans. So clearly, this isn't just a normal rumor. This is something more, and a lot of Thais are taking it very, very seriously. There's even a suggestion that bars might be closed down in a few days without any explanation. So if you start seeing bars closing suddenly, that might be another sign that something's about to happen. Now, if something does happen, it would probably be an announcement that the king is incapacitated, or that the king is abdicated. The truth is that the king is incapacitated. He can't speak. He's senile. he doesn't know what's going on. He can't even move most of the time, and he's being kept alive by machines only. So really, he's out of the game completely, and he doesn't have the capacity to make decisions and to express these decisions. So according to Thai protocol, in these circumstances, it would be appropriate for the palace to announce that because the monarch is incapacitated and seems that he'll be permanently incapacitated until he dies, that the crown prince is regent. So that would mean that we still have King Bhumibol, he's still reigning, but the crown prince will be reigning on his behalf as regent because King Bhumibol is incapacitated. So it's possible, that will be the announcement. There's a chance, however, that there's some kind of conspiracy between the junta and the crown prince to go further. So they may say that the king has made the decision to abdicate, and then the crown prince will really become king. Now, in fact, the king can't abdicate because he's not well enough to make this decision. His brain isn't really functioning. So he's not in a position to say that he's abdicated.
Right.
But it's possible that the junta and the crown prince will just say, "Oh, the king's accepted it," just as they say that he accepted the coup and so on, when nobody heard him say it with his own, say it with his own mouth because he can't speak. Yeah. So, we could see Vajiralongkorn actually becoming king. That's another possibility. And the abdication would be timed to coincide with his birthday. A third possibility, which I think is much less likely, but it's not impossible, is that, doctors have been keeping the king alive artificially. He has no quality of life, really. So if they just stopped these intensive, constant efforts to keep the king alive, the king would die naturally within a short time. And there's a small chance, I guess, that a decision's been made just to stop keeping the king alive and let him die, and then we'd see royal succession unfolding again. But I think the most likely thing, if there is a announcement on Thursday, is abdication or that the crown prince is becoming regent. But of course, with all this drama about the photographs, with the fact that I've been forecasting this and so on, this may change the plan again. So, I don't want to say for sure something's going to happen on the 28th, but I think we should all be watching and we should all be ready for something to happen.
All right. Thank you so much for giving time for me and very good or interesting information. Thank you very much. I'm very appreciate that. Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, it's been a pleasure to talk. So hopefully talk again soon. Sawadee krap.
All right. Sawadee krap. Thank you so much. ครับคุณแอนดรูว์ แมคไกรโกร์ มาเชลนะครับเป็นนักข่าวของอังกฤษแล้วก็เป็นอดีตนักข่าวรอยเตอร์ประจำอยู่ในประเทศไทยหลายปีนะฮะเป็นข้อความหรือว่าเป็นข้อมูลที่น่าสนใจนะครับในเรื่องของสถาบันพระมหากษัตริย์ไทยและโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งเรื่องของการเปลี่ยนผ่านราชการนะครับเป็นข้อมูลที่ท่านผู้ชมสามารถที่จะนำไปคิดและก็วิเคราะห์ได้นะครับรวมทั้งความในใจของเขาเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของการวิพากษ์วิจารณ์สถาบันกษัตริย์ไทยนะครับเอาละครับและนี่คือทั้งหมดของรายการเสียงไทยเพื่อเสรีภาพของคนไทยในวันนี้ขอบพระคุณที่ติดตามรับชมกลับมาคุยกันใหม่ครั้งหน้าวันนี้ลาไปก่อนครับสวัสดีครับ